this is Lady Boulay. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Well, a few weeks ago I mentioned that when I'm going through my Twitter feed, I see things that bring out different reactions in me. Sometimes it's happy, it makes me laugh. Sometimes it makes me angry, frustrated, and sometimes I'm confused. And then sometimes I'm sad. Day before yesterday, I was scrolling through my Twitter feed and I came across this picture. You can see the look of fear on this young man's face. Now, this is not the worst picture. This is the one that I can actually show. The actual picture shows this white man with his hand around this young man's neck. It's about a 2-minute video, and it's one of those things where you just can't look away. You see this person's face. You see terror on this young man's face, and you see this white man's hand around his neck. This is a young man. He's 24 years old. He's a person with a disability, and he's very small for his age. In the video, you can tell. He looks like a child, but he's 24 years old. Now, this bully, this white man, he wants to bully somebody. He has it in his heart and in his spirit to go out and do something low down to somebody, and he's picking somebody that he thinks he can get away with it. Because where is the black man who would be this young man's size, this disabled young man's size, who didn't have a disability? Where is that black man that he would jump up in his face and put his hand around his neck? And what do we think the outcome would be? And I put money on the fact that there are some 4th and 5th and 6th grade boys in that town, which is Milwaukee, that he wouldn't jump up in their face. If he did, he would be sorry. So he's going to pick on a person with a disability to show what a big man he is. It's just frustrating. So this guy in the plaid shirt, he picks his victim very carefully. Somebody small, somebody with a disability, somebody innocent. The child didn't even know. If you look at the expression on his face through the video, he was like a deer caught in the headlights. He didn't know what was going on. And then when somebody else came and intervened, a good Samaritan did intervene, thank goodness. The Good Samaritan's name is DeAngelo Wright. He was driving down the street, he said, and he saw what was happening. And he said it looked like somebody choking a kid. And it didn't seem right, so he got out of his car and started filming. He came up to the scene. As he comes up to the scene, this man is holding this young man by the neck. He has his bike stopped, and the young man can't move. The man holding the child is named Robert Wozikowski, and he appears to be calling the police. He's talking on the phone, and DeAngelo Wright said he heard him telling the person on the phone that the young man had stole the bike out of his friend's yard. And the young man is insisting he didn't do anything, that he didn't steal anything. But Wozikowski is holding him by the neck. DeAngelo Wright comes up and removes his hand from around the young man's neck. And that's when Wozikowski throws up his middle finger. And I must confess, I'm not sure about the pronunciation of his name. After removing Wozikowski's hand from around the young man's neck, he tells him, "You ain't got to touch his neck like that. He's a kid." He then orders the other children who are riding around on their bicycles, checking the situation out, to go notify this young man's parents or guardians and let them know what's going on. DeAngelo Wright posted this interaction on his Twitter page. The local news station interviewed him and asked him what made him intervene. And he said, just looking at it, it looked like he was choking a kid. It was sad and very upsetting. And he said he felt compelled to intervene. He went on to say the child was shaking. He didn't really know what was going on, like he was confused. I was telling everyone, God puts you in the situation for a reason. And I think that was for that young man's sake. And it was for that young man's sake, because that young man was being abused. And in the video, the young boy was desperately trying to tell DeAngelo Wright, I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. I didn't do it. On God, I didn't do anything. And that on God is something I wish young blacks would stop saying. But that's what he was saying. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. He thought that the man was accusing him of assaulting him, when in fact, Wazikowski was assaulting him. He had the young man by the neck, holding him. Now, what's worth noting is that DeAngelo Wright, a grown man, removed his hand from that child twice. He moved it from around his neck, and then he put his hands on the child's shoulder, and he removed his hand from the child's shoulder. I'm going to put a link to the video so you can go watch it if you haven't seen it. It's disturbing to watch, but it was a relief to see another person intervening and bringing the situation to a head. It is good to know that there are people who still have a sense of decency, who won't just walk on by seeing something happening where somebody's in distress and not do anything. So it's good to know that there are people who are still good Samaritans, who are angels of mercy. It's good to know that they are still here among us. So after this video went viral on Twitter, and I guess word got around in the community, guess what? Here comes the next crew. Now here you're going to have a bunch of black men walking down the street, walking to this man's neighborhood, standing in front of his house and yelling at him. Come on out. Come on out. Now all of a sudden Mr. Bad Guy is hiding in his own house and won't come out. There is an outcry over what this man did to this young man, and there are calls for his arrest. Outraged Twitter users have been flooding that police department, demanding to know what they're going to do. They are citing the Wisconsin's criminal code for assault of an individual with a disability and false imprisonment. They're giving the police department possible charges for this man. He was assaulting that young man and he wouldn't let him go, so that's false imprisonment. A journalist came back and added that what Robert Wazikowski did was a federal hate crime. He assaulted a person with a disability and he's black. So Robert Wazikowski needs to be held accountable for what he did to that young man. So the positive energy in the room should go to people like DeAngelo Wright. He saw something, he did something. There's so much emphasis in the black community on these celebrities, on this sports, and this entertainment, and this social media, and this is a social media platform too, but it can be used for good. But there's too much emphasis on frivolous stuff, on how many children Nick Cannon has, or what Kanye West is doing this week. These celebrities are a distraction. There are things going on in our communities across the country that need attention, and they need attention from people like DeAngelo Wright, people who are in the community and who care about what's going on in the community. These are the people that deserve to be lifted up. Now let's just keep it a buck. This special needs man needed a black man to intervene on his behalf. And the reason I'm saying a black man is because I don't think a white man would have intervened. Now, there are white men who may have, but generally when white people see another white person accosting or doing something like this to a black person, they believe that the black person did something. And when they came up and asked what was going on, that white man was going to tell a lie and say that this young man had stole a bicycle, which is what he said, that he had stolen a bicycle from his friend's yard, and that was a lie. He said that the bike that was stolen was green, but this young man is on a blue bike. But a white person would have believed him. But the black man perceived the situation differently. First of all, he knew the man had no business with his hands around that young man's neck, and he removed it. And all Mr. Bad Guy did was stick up his middle finger. And then Mr. DeAngelo Wright told the children that were riding around on their bicycles to go tell the young man's family or guardian what was happening. Now that's exactly what that young man needed done in that moment. DeAngelo Wright came in and de-escalated the situation, and then he sent for the proper guardians of the young man. They would know what to do. I still say that a white person would not have handled it that way. They would have erred on the side of the white man being right. And I think the last thing they would have thought to do would be to send for the young man's parents And that's who needed to come in and take over the situation. And that way, Mr. DeAngelo Wright did not implicate himself in any way. He did not try to chastise the white man, and he did not threaten or confront the white man. He simply de-escalated the situation and protected the child. That's what needed to be done in that situation. Now, when the news media got involved and interviewed DeAngelo Wright, he said it didn't matter what color he was. I would have done that for anybody. And that's very noble of him. But the reality is, he would not have had to do that for a white child. If that man had grabbed a white child by the neck in the neighborhood riding around minding his business, the white people in that neighborhood would have handled him. And then he would have definitely had to answer to that white child's parents. And he knew that. So he never would have done that to a white child in the first place. Even if the white child had stolen the bicycle, he would not have treated a white child like that, because he would know what the consequence would be. So I emphatically say that this young boy needed a black man, a man who understood him, a man who would have understood the emotions of a black man being in a situation like that. A black woman could have intervened and probably would have if she had seen it, but he needed this black man. Black children need to see black men doing things like this. There are those who would stand back and say, well, it's not my child. His mom is a single mom. All that kind of nonsense. They need to see black men standing in the gap for them, doing the right thing for the right reason. This is the best story ever. And I really hope the city of Milwaukee, and especially the black citizens of Milwaukee, will recognize this man in some way, because he truly deserves it. And finally, I want to add this. In dealing with that white man, that black man, knowing what the situation could turn into, kept calm. He never raised his voice. All he did was remove that man's hand from around that young man's neck, and then he put it on his shoulder, and he removed it from the shoulder, and he told him, you don't have to put your hands on him. He's calling the police. He had him stopped. So it wasn't like he needed to be physically restraining this young man. He was not putting up that much resistance. He was trying to explain that he hadn't stolen anything and that he hadn't put his hands on the man, because he really thought the man was accusing him of assaulting him. But the young man, DeAngelo Wright, did not raise his voice, but he stayed firm. He just handled the situation right all the way around. It was just a person who knew what to do and had the courage to do it, and he did it. He did the right thing all the way around. So when all you can do is the right thing, just do the right thing. This is a good situation to demonstrate to black people that we still need each other. Every situation doesn't have to turn out to be a tragedy. And it's helpful when we can intervene on each other's behalf. We haven't gotten so high and mighty in the United States that we don't need to take time to stop, look, and listen, and do something if you can. This was a situation in which you have a young black man with a disability, and then you have young black children riding around on a bicycle, and you see a person coming out as a bully. That is demeaning to those children. And it's not even clear how serious that situation would have become if that man had kept his hand on that young man's neck. It was not good for those black children riding around on their bicycles to see that. That was a bully. It was a situation in which a grown person, a grown white person, was taking advantage of a black person with a disability. It was demeaning, it was degrading, it was putting somebody in his place who wasn't even out of his place. All he was doing was riding around on a bicycle that was his, or that he was given permission to ride. So this white man inserted himself in a situation that he didn't even need to be in. He was trying to fix something that wasn't broken. So DeAngelo Wright said God put him in that situation. So God sent him to the rescue. How about that? When all you can do is the right thing, you do that. Because it could be that God put you in that situation. So DeAngelo Wright did what we say in church. He was mindful to give God the glory. Okay, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.